podcasting's choice. From coast to coast, continent to continent, right here 24/7.
PNR.
Blueberry.
This podcast is a member of the Blueberry Network. Blueberry. No E's. That's Blueberry, BLUBRRY.com. Blueberry.com.
This podcast is a proud member of the Lamb Podcasting Network. Find the network at largeassmovieblogs.com.
The Big G, Tokyo Town, StompDown.
Oh, look out, folks. This is going to be a big one. Kim's going to have one of her fits. Welcome to the Big G Tokyo Town StompDown for May 22nd, 2019. I'm TC Kirkham.
I'm Kim Brown.
Well, you are. This movie is like worse than Ghost for you.
Yeah.
I mean, she has movies that trigger her in a big way.
Yes.
And Ghost, March of the Penguins, and this movie,
The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship
not,
of the
yeah,
Ring.
but not anywhere close to those two.
The End of Infinity
I mean,
War.
Ghost, no. The end of the Last Jedi.
Yeah.
That's another one. And so is this one. As we continue 31 Days of Godzilla today with the final film from the Heisei period, which ended in 1995.
Yes.
And the film that I believe is considered the all-time greatest Godzilla film by the fans. Godzilla versus Destoroyah.
Destoroyah. Yeah.
Excuse me.
Well, that's how it's pronounced. It's not Destroyer. Well, it is Destroyer in this country, but it's actually Destoroyah. It's.
Okay, fine. Well, I mixed the two.
I know.
So there.
It's okay. Well, it's all right. It's all right.
Well, then don't correct me. It was the last Godzilla film to be made by Toho for 4 years, and was the last feature from Godzilla before TriStar's Godzilla, directed by Roland Emmerich, which is in this household known as Fluffy the Giant Iguana. A number of subject cinema fans have called it Fraudzilla. We won't be talking about that film.
No, we won't.
We're going to skip to the 99 one tomorrow.
We're going to pretend that didn't happen.
Yeah.
We're just going to go...
Well, no, you and I both agree. If they had not plastered the Godzilla name on that film, it would have been a great monster movie.
If they had just called it Iguanodon the movie or something like that.
But because it was a Godzilla film, and Roland Emmerich actually says at one point that he was out to completely change the Godzilla mythos and the look and the way it was handled. Well, he succeeded at all that, but the Godzilla fans know that Zilla is not Godzilla.
Nope.
Which is what they ended up naming him in the Toho universe. So, because
Toho
still owns the rights to what American companies do. So if except in the King Kong area, we've done here with them with Legendary, that's a co-production. Not a co-production, it's a licensed production, but Toho acknowledges them in the Godzilla universe.
Right.
It's a very complicated situation.
It's convoluted.
It's complicated.
The issue is that the names we keep using, Fluffy the Giant Iguana, Fraudzilla, etc., and so on and so forth, those are the ones we can use. I have a couple more that I wouldn't be allowed to use because somebody in this room...
Family show. Anyway, let's move on.
Would do that. And also do their Captain America impression.
Language?
There we go.
I can't do that anymore. Because Cap swore 3 times in game. I can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay.
And it was hot.
And he actually said son of a bitch, so you can't...
That was in Ultron, though. That was... Anyway.
Did it? No.
Yeah, Fury, you son of a bitch.
When did he? Okay.
The SHIELD ship showed up at the end. Remember to rescue everybody?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
Anyway. So, when this film came out in 1995, before the film came out, they made a big deal about the fact that Godzilla was going to die in this film. This was not a spoiler. This was not... And, of course, I also have to bring up, this was 1995, so the internet was just sort of stumbling along, feeling its way around.
At this point in time... the Godzilla groups were limited to AOL, Prodigy, Usenet, and CompuServe, pretty much.
Back when you had to use a modem to get on... Go ask your parents. I know some people just went, what is she talking about? So anyway, so the news got out that Toho said, like, we are killing off Godzilla, and we mean it. We are not screwing around. This isn't some
Well, they didn't have it. They had plans to bring him back later, but this was to end this series.
Yes. And to be perfectly honest and to be perfectly fair to Toho, they did kill Godzilla in this film.
Yeah.
You'll see what I mean by that by the end of the...
Okay.
They did kill Godzilla, sort of. Well, you'll see what I mean.
Well, this is technically... This movie sets up the fact that this is technically the third Godzilla, correct? Because the first Godzilla died at the end of Gojira using the oxygen destroyer.
The very first Godzilla, yes, died because of the use of the oxygen destroyer. Remember those words; they're very important. We've never really established that whether or not this is the same Godzilla that showed up in Godzilla Raids Again, because all of that stuff just got hand wiped when they did Godzilla 85.
Okay, so this might be number 2. This is likely number 2 then. Okay. All right. So I'm going to get back and lean back and relax. Try not to get too worked up. We have a couple more shows to do. And just let you know. Alrighty.
Warning straight up, I am not a pretty crier. So the young woman that we've had show up in a lot of these films, the psychic Miki Saegusa, who works for the United Nations Godzilla Countermeasures Center. Would you please stop?
No. I'm determined to make a word out of that.
You're not making a word out of it. It sounds like you're blocking a sneeze. So she heads to Birth Island to check in on Godzilla, who she has some kind of weird psychic tie with, and the baby Godzilla, who's actually now a little Godzilla and actually is now referred to as Godzilla Jr. But the problem is she gets there and the island is completely trashed.
Now, it's not weird that she has a psychic connection with him. You got to remember, these movies are not single-handed movies like the earlier ones were. They are all connected, starting with Godzilla 85 through this one. They all have running threads through them.
They do. But you have to admit, it's exceedingly strange, the idea of a
woman having a psychic with a plant and a monster.
An average-sized, Japanese lady having a psychic bond with a, hundreds of feet tall radioactive prehistoric lizard.
Right.
It's a little strange. Okay. I know some people say they have psychic connections to their pets, but this is ridiculous.
Okay.
So, Infant Island is in shambles, and Godzilla shows up in Hong Kong and completely goes ballistic, destroying everything that he can get his hands on. Now and you don't need to be a rocket scientist or Sherlock freaking Holmes to realize there is something seriously wrong with Godzilla.
And why would that be?
Because, well, for one thing, he's never attacked Hong Kong before, and there's really no reason for him to attack Hong Kong other than the fact that something's obviously wrong. Mm-hmm. But you can physically see something's wrong with him because his skin has these areas on it that look like they look burned. And like not just burned, they look like they're burning. There's like these patches of his skin that look like the skin underneath it, right under the skin is on fire.
Okay.
That is obviously not a good thing.
Right.
So the Japan Self-Defense Force goes to a college student, because apparently they figure they'll work cheap, named Kenshi Yamane, who is actually the grandson of Dr. Yamane, who was in the original film way back in the day. And they're like, well, you know all this stuff about Godzilla because of your grandfather and your family and stuff like that, so come work for us. And so he works with them trying to find out what the hell is wrong with Godzilla and why he's acting like this and what's wrong with his skin. So Yamane's theory is that Godzilla's heart, which, now let's think about this. Godzilla is a giant irradiated lizard. If you take that standpoint, picture his heart like a nuclear reactor. It powers everything. It gives him energy and all that kind of stuff. Okay, got that? Now, what happens when a nuclear power plant has something go wrong? We get Chernobyl.
Meltdown.
We get
Meltdown.
Yeah. So the thing is, the reason that they think this has happened is because Godzilla was exposed to a uranium deposit that happened to be on Birth Island, I should say. There was an eruption of a volcano. This exposed the uranium, which was exposed to Godzilla, which has caused everything to go horribly sideways. Because this has basically initiated Godzilla's heart to go into meltdown mode. And that's not something that anybody wants to see happen. Not only because this is an animal and it's in pain, and I realize that's me being an earthy, crunchy hippie, but also the fact that if Godzilla blows up as in explodes, that's probably not going to be a good thing for anybody on, that side of the planet. I think that would be a bad thing, obviously. So they obviously the humans are like, holy what do we do? So Yamane continues on with his theory, which is that when Godzilla's core temperature reaches 1200 degrees Celsius, and
I think it's centigrade, but that's okay.
It's not Fahrenheit, so I don't know what it is. That he will explode. And that this will not be a small explosion. According to Yamane's dialogue, it will be, quote, 1,000 times greater than all nuclear weapons put together, a burst of power unseen since time began, end quote.
Peachy!
Yeah. You remember when I said this would be a bad thing? Amend that. This would be a very bad thing. Underline that. Bold it, make it in 10-foot tall glow-in-the-dark letters. So, naturally, everyone is like, holy crap, we can't let that happen.
Run, panic.
Well, the thing is, there's nowhere to run to.
Oh, yeah.
Because if this happens, the heat that is going to be given off from said explosion will be hot enough that it will set Earth's atmosphere on fire.
Dun, dun, dun!
Bad thing. And will basically burn the planet up into a little tiny piece of charcoal briquette. Very bad thing. So the JDSF...
That's too bad, you know.
Well, I'm sorry, what?
Well, I mean, if the Earth turns into giant charcoal briquette, I mean, it's ironic because then Stephen Reichman won't be around to use any of it on his barbecue show.
I get it.
I just thought
I don't want it, but
cooking references here. Okay, anyway, go ahead.
I don't want it, but I get it. So the JSDF, naturally, because they're trying to stop this from happening, I'm gonna throw something at you. I mean it. They send out this vehicle that has these weapons on it that they can use to try and lower Godzilla's core temperature so that he doesn't go explodey.
In this case, they're trying to prevent a weapon of mass destruction, which is Godzilla himself at this point. Yeah.
The vehicle is known as the Super X3, and it's got all these anti-nuke weapons on it and stuff like that.
Because the Super X and the Super X2 worked so well in earlier movies.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
And also because just calling it Henry would be stupid. So, as it turns out...
No, in Japan it would probably be called Ken. Isn't that a more common name? Yeah, okay.
Good point. Some scientists find out that the oxygen destroyer, which was a machine perfected by Dr. Serizawa, which was used in the original Godzilla film way back in the day and actually worked, is it's alive. Somehow this thing is alive now. I don't entirely know how it is, but the
well,
exposure,
I don't know that they mean it's alive. It means that it wasn't, they thought it was suspended and now something suddenly triggered it again.
Yeah, that's more accurate. It's working again.
Yeah.
Which you would think would kill everything in Tokyo Bay, but apparently not. It's wound up mutating some creatures in Tokyo Bay, and the creatures all combine together to form these ugly looking things that are like, they're big, they're not huge, they're large, they're about the size of a man, and they look like these ugly looking crab mutant mofos, and they start climbing out of Tokyo Bay and they start running amok. So they wind up fighting with the people from the JSDF, and some of them are caught and some of them are destroyed. But the thing is, after some of them are caught, they're called Destoroyah, after the oxygen destroyer. And the thing is, they're still evolving, like at this super insane fast rate, which means that the military, every time the military gets a hold of them, they're like, oh, we evolved into something different, you can't keep us, that kind of a thing. So, because of the run-in that Godzilla has with the Super X3, he's not going to explode, which is good, but he could still have a meltdown. He could literally have his body will melt down like a nuclear reactor, which is obviously still not a good thing. Mickey is instructed by her bosses to reach out with her telepathy to Godzilla Jr. to get him to come to Tokyo, in the idea that Godzilla will follow Jr. and be killed by this Destoroyah creature. So Godzilla Jr. shows up and fights with Destoroyah, who is now not man-sized anymore. Now it's this big, severely ugly-looking thing. And the fight actually looks like it's going Junior's way, because Destoroyah gets blasted into a power plant, electrical plant, and it looks like Junior's won. Godzilla winds up showing up at the airport, the Haneda airport. Unfortunately, it turns out that Destoroyah actually isn't dead and has mutated some more and has reached his final form, and is strong enough that he is able to kill Godzilla Jr., which is done in full view of Godzilla. Godzilla attempts to, in a really actually incredibly beautiful scene, attempts to try and help the younger version, it's almost like he doesn't really comprehend at first that he's dead, and then it really hits him, and that isn't a good thing, because that even makes the meltdown happen even quicker, because he's upset, his heart's beating faster. Destoroyah appears again, and Godzilla and he fight, and Godzilla manages to really put the hurt on Destoroyah. And when Destoroyah tries to flee again, the JSDF blasts it with a bunch of freeze weapons that they were going to use on Godzilla, and it's almost like it's shattered, because Godzilla heats up the ground, which is not, he can't help it. That's just what's happening because of his body. So now you've got this Destoroyah's being bombarded with cold and then smashes into the super hot ground, and he winds up being obliterated. Godzilla is now dying. There's no other way around it. He is dying because his insides are melting, for lack of a better term.
Ew.
And the JSDF still, they start shooting at him with the freeze weapons that they have, and while they're able to keep the Earth from being completely destroyed, they're not able to keep the fallout contained. And Tokyo is now uninhabitable, and I'm assuming was evacuated before this. The thing is, and Godzilla is dead. And all of a sudden, the radiation levels that the people have been watching on the monitors and the little blippy things and all that stuff like that, instead of being super high, the radiation levels start falling like a stone, and there's this roar that sounds very, very familiar. And as it turns out, Godzilla Jr. has been reborn as a fully formed Godzilla because he absorbed the energy from the original Godzilla, and when he died, his energy went into Junior, revived him, and mutated him further, and he is now a fully sized Godzilla. And the movie ends.
And you made it through. I'm very impressed.
I had a couple of problems there.
So this is, like I said, considered the second best. I'm sorry, Godzilla versus the plant thing. Biolante is considered the favorite, but this is the second best according to the fans' polls. I've never seen this one. I'm not lying, Kim. I told you the other day. It was on Showtime or something. She wanted to watch it. I said, fine, go ahead. I'll go in the bedroom. Had my headphones on, was reading. The door was closed. The fan were on. And at the end of the movie, even through the headphones, I could hear her wailing. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
But you have a new one. Isn't that some consolation?
Well, see, that's the one thing that I was surprised that you've never brought that up.
What?
Yeah, I was crying.
Were you wailing at Junior's death?
No.
Okay.
No, that made me sick.
Okay.
That I remember sitting there watching it and feeling like I'm going to be physically ill because the fight between Godzilla Jr. and Destoroyah is very difficult to watch because Destoroyah is one of the few out of all of the monsters that Godzilla has fought over the years. For the most part, usually there's this kind of a thing that's happening where you have, I'm fighting you because you're on my turf.
Right. Okay.
I'm fighting you because you're bigger than me.
Okay.
I'm fighting you because you have something I want, or I have something you want, or whatever. Destoroyah wants to hurt things very badly. Destoroyah kills Junior in full view of Godzilla.
But does it really know it's doing that?
Yes.
Okay.
It does. That is an evil being. It is actually an evil being. I'm sorry. And some people out there might argue with me, but I don't think so. And when when it was very obvious Godzilla was dying, besides the fact that he had just gotten the living crap kicked out of him by Destoroyah and the fact that he was dying anyway and now the military is still shooting at him, yes, I know that I had to save the planet, blah, blah, blah. I don't care. I started to bawl. I mean, because I know some people are going to be like, Kim, it's not a real animal. I know that. I'm in the movie. I'm in the moment of the movie.
She's very, very attached to animals like that.
And I just get into when I watch a movie.
Coo and ooh and ah when we're watching the cute animals videos.
Yeah, when I watch a movie, I'm in the movie. I'm in the atmosphere of the film because that's more enjoyable. I don't sit there and be like, oh well, I know that they're gonna have a sequel or blah blah blah, so I'm not gonna get upset. I don't do that.
That's a slam on me.
No, that's not a slam on you.
Yes, it is.
I'm not meaning it that way. I'm really not. But this is an animal that is in so much pain, and it shows, and you feel it. You can't look at this and not feel pity for this animal because it's hurting.
Right.
And I know some people are probably like, it's a big freaking lizard, you nitwit.
No, I think a lot of Godzilla fans would feel the same way. Did feel the same way.
And when he dies, it hurts. I mean, it really hurts. When Junior is reborn and is the new Godzilla, I started to laugh. And it wasn't a laugh of relief.
It was a laugh of "I told you so."
It was a laugh of, "You can't stop this. You mankind, you can't stop this. You will never be able to stop him. He will always be here." And I realize that sounds really friggin' crazy.
Creepy, even.
Well, yeah. But it's me. I mean, this, and I'm sorry, that I feel like that hammers home my whole thing that Godzilla is nature's avatar.
Yeah.
You can't, Godzilla is proof that nature and the earth will always win. No matter what we do, no matter how much we screw up, and no matter how much we as a species think we have control over things and control over nature and the wilderness and animals and stuff like that. We don't. Because nature is always going to say, okay, that's enough. And nature always wins.
Okay.
In the end.
Okay.
So.
Can I ask a question?
Yep.
Why is the young professor kid in the movie named Yamane when it was his daughter that was supposed to marry the other guy, so he should have the other guy's last name? Big plot point.
No,
they screwed that up. Anyway, this is like I said, a big favorite among fans. And if you haven't seen it, I'm sure Kim would recommend it.
I would. I
haven't seen it yet.
It.
In the next group, we will enter the Millennium series, the Millennium period.
Well, hold up, wait a minute. You're actually assuming they got married. They might not have gotten married.
Oh, he has a grandson, so how else? Unless that would have been frowned upon in Japan in 1950, whatever.
Well.
And the kid is obviously not that old.
No, so you think his last name should be Ogata, not Yamane.
Yeah,
I understand what you're saying.
Okay.
But,
Anyway, we will enter the Millennium period in the next group. It's 4 years later.
Yep.
Post-war.
Also, we want to bring up about this film another important point.
Okay.
This was the last film to be scored by Akira Ifukube. He would die 11 years later. One of the masters of Japanese cinema when it comes to music.
He actually gave up on the Godzilla series earlier, but they kept bringing him back because he kept getting ticked that they were screwing up his music.
Yep. And also the person that created Godzilla's roar. So very, very important part of Godzilla's background.
Okay, so can I go on?
Yep.
Tomorrow we will enter the Millennium period.
Yep.
In 1999, post Roland Emmerich's debacle, with Godzilla 2000 Millennium from 1999. Kim has seen this one also. Well, Kim's seen all these. I've seen part of this one. I saw the last 20 minutes of it. So it's like, okay. And that'll be on as we continue to work our way toward May 31st and the premiere of Legendary's brand new Godzilla epic, Godzilla King of the Monsters. I should squeak again. And hopefully we'll all have fun with that one. It is getting good reviews. It is done. I loved the first one that they did in 2014. So hopefully this will be good. I wish Aaron Johnson's character was coming back, but
yeah,
it's all right. He was disappointed that he didn't get asked back, but there, David Strathairn and Ken Watanabe and I always forget the name of the woman that plays his assistant are all back from the first film, so you definitely want to check that out. And so anyway, as we head in that, don't forget to sign up if you'd like to hear Kim's regular show, Kaiju Corner. You need to be a $5 or higher member of our Patreon patrons group. You can do that by going over to patreon.com/PNRNetworks. And don't forget, your money supports all the PNR Network shows, not just Kaiju Corner. Also, all of our sites. It includes all our podcasts, as well as podcasts by Eric and Valerie Lyon called Cavebabble and Anthony Lamberti and his video work on YouTube. So we definitely hope you'll do that. And also check us out on Twitter, Platinum Rose L for Kim, eCinemaBoston usually for me. And keep thinking those good thoughts, spread the word, and let everybody know we're here.
Yeah.
Until tomorrow for the Big G, Tokyo Town StompDown, I'm TC Kirkham.
I'm Kim Brown.
We'll see you then.
Bye.
You've been listening to the Big G Tokyo Town StompDown from Subject Cinema, Kaiju Corner at eCinemaOne.com.
This podcast is a proud member of the Lamb Podcasting Network. Find the network at largeassmovieblogs.com.
Podcasting's choice. From coast to coast, continent to continent, right here 24/7.